Now we're starting.
Okay, so this is our presentation. Me, Elizabeth, and Ryan are collaborating. Outline of our project. For my final project, I plan to write an original song and have a production student arrange it, which will be Ryan. Collaborate with Elizabeth and write an original song and also have a production student arrange that. My plan was to do a reggae and R&B mashup to sing over a reggae-inspired instrumental and research different vocal techniques that can be effective in my own practice. Why I chose to focus on this, I find it quite difficult to write songs myself most times, so I thought I'd try to push myself, and that's why I tried to focus on songwriting a bit, but it's mostly performance at the same time. As a collaborative project, I thought that I would find someone who is both comfortable and knowledgeable in writing songs, hence me choosing to work with Elizabeth, as I listened to some of her work and was impressed. Although I haven't worked with her much in the past, I thought I would take the risk as this would show that I'm more than capable of working in a team with people I've never worked with before. Steps that we've taken to ensure that our project goes successful. Ensuring that we stay on top of our research and case study, as this will help when it comes to the practical. For instance, my project, I'm focusing on vocal techniques such as breathing and strengthening the diaphragm. Ensuring that Elizabeth and I meet up at least twice a week to work on the lyrics for our collaborative song and work on harmonies for all the songs that we'll be performing. Ensuring that Elizabeth and I meet up with Ryan at least twice a week to see what improvements made to the arrangements of the instrumental and ensure that our melody works well with his. Problems that have occurred so far. One of the problems that we had first was being able to get all three of us in a room at the same time. Ryan would be busy with his own work and Elizabeth and I were not always in on the same days. The way we resolved this was by sitting down and discussing the days that were best for all of us to meet up together, which was Monday and Friday afternoon. We also decided that we would book a room twice a week. Another problem that we found was Elizabeth and I had found that it was hard to come to agreements on the instrumental that we would use to write our song to. Every week it would change, which was wasting a bit of time. The way we resolved this was by listening to two instrumentals and deciding that we would write some lyrics down and see which one would fit best against the instrumental that we chose. Although we wasted some time in the beginning, we got there in the end. Problems that we foresee. Originally I had an idea to do a reggae and R&B mashup, but haven't dedicated my time well enough to get started on it yet. I have a rough idea of the songs I'm going to include and how it would sound at the end, but haven't done much work on it, even though, don't know what I'm saying. Although we worked on the arrangement of my original song and I have a majority of the lyrics down, I haven't practiced as much as I should have and haven't recorded it in the studio yet. Time management may be a big issue in getting the project finished, as we sometimes struggle to get all three of us in the same room at once. In the beginning I wrote my own song to an instrumental that I found off YouTube. And then I asked Ryan to arrange it for me, so I'm going to show you what I wrote to on the YouTube one.
Everybody's got something to say. All my friends wanna get in my face, but I don't care what they have to say, 'cause I'm gonna be with you anyway. 'Cause every time you know that you put a smile on my face, and I'm falling for you every time. Let's focus on each other. I wanna be close and nothing ever. Stop your hiding. Come and find me, let be what it's meant to be. Stop playing all those games and get all your business, make a stand. Do you care? Can we be? Are we free? Do you care? Can we be? Are we free? Repetition got my mind to stay. Wanna know it's a real fake. Don't you know you ain't gotta change? No more time we ain't gotta waste. It's living this life. about your business ain't right. I'm not losing this.
Right, so that's the one that I wrote to.
I was going to ask, was that the backing track from YouTube?
Yeah, that was the YouTube one. And then the next one is when I asked Ryan to start the arrangement, but it's not a proper recording, it's just on my phone, so it doesn't sound great. Just put it there so I can pick up.
That was the backing track.
Everybody's got something to say. All my friends wanna get in my face, but I don't care what they have to say, 'cause I'm gonna be with you anyway. 'Cause every time you're around, you're a smile on my face, and I'm falling for you every time. Let's focus on each other. I wanna be closer now than ever. So can't hide it, come find me. Let it be what it's meant to be. Stop playing on the schemes and get all your peers, let's make a statement. Do you care? Can we be? Are we free? Do you care? Can we be? Are we free? Are we free?
Okay.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Which one do you like more? The YouTube instrumental or Ryan's one?
I prefer the YouTube instrumental right now, but the arrangement that Ryan done is just like the start. Like he literally done it on that day and recorded it. So it's just
I don't like Ryan, not really.
Okay. This person was basically on my case study, Kiki Palmer. I researched a song called I Don't Belong to You, and I wanted to take some elements from that song and put it onto my track, like the way it was just laid out, the chorus and the verses and that. And I was able to pick up some elements from the track, such as the way the beat is laid out. Like when it came to the verse, there's also like a snap and then a clap. If you know what I'm saying. I'm not sure what the BPM was, but it was slow paced, but there was like a snap in the middle of it, and then there was a clap, which was the main snare. And yeah, I was able to put that into practice and also added my own flavor into it to make it sound more unique. Yeah, that's what basically.
So that person in particular, why did you choose that song? Was it based on the singer's input, or was it just something you were interested in?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both actually. Well, one reason was because I really liked this song and I wanted to try and do something with it, and the other reason was because of the songwriting technique as well. So hopefully they could try and work something out with that as well.
What have you learned from your research? What do you want?
Oh, just all of us?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I guess, so before that actually, to then come back to this question, if you could, because you're collaborating on this project together with different roles, could you sum up your area of research each in 4 words or less, each person? What was your area of research?
well, my area of research was all about vocal techniques.
The vocal techniques, so the performance aspect of it.
Mine is just production.
And mine is songwriting.
Okay, so you're you're bringing it all together into a collaborative project. So then, each one of you, what have you learned from your research? Well, Brian sort of explained what he's learned from song structure, production ideas.
But I've been looking mostly at like stuff like breathing, stuff like that, because usually when I'm singing my songs, I don't know when to take the correct breaths and stuff like that. So I've looked at specific exercises, and then I've recorded myself doing it and showing progress.
Oh, great. Are you noting when you write down lyrics? Are you noting where your breaths can be as well? Have you got? How are you doing that? Is it on paper?
Sort of.
Just trying out. All that stuff's great. That's what I mean. It'd be really good to have a record of it.
Yeah.
If you realise that you need to think more about how you breathe and where you breathe, and you're fitting it into your performance, just make sure you're documenting that really clearly. So here's my lyrics. Here's where I worked out points where I need to breathe and how I need to go about it. It'll just really help. Elizabeth, what have you learned from your research?
Well, for my research, I did Jasmine Sullivan, and I learned that she's a songwriter as well. And what I've realised is that a lot of her songs are based from experience, and that's what I want to incorporate in my work. Because I've been doing songwriting for a long time, and I wanted to add something else to it. And the genres that she mainly uses are gospel and R&B and jazz. So I'm just doing a bit of all of them.
So doing a bit of all them, like listening to different further artists and stuff.
No, I'm listening to Jasmine Sullivan, but I'm listening to other songs that she's written because they're not all exactly the same genre, but they're about the same thing.
Okay, so taking in how she works with different genres and stuff. How is it factoring back into the project?
Well,
Has it affected lyrics that you've written?
yeah. One of the for the gospel part, there's two songs I've written. One is called "Light Up Me" gospel, and the other one is "Broken Heart." So they're both about the same thing, but I don't know. It's just different in a way.
Okay.
What are you doing to ensure that your project can succeed?
Well, we're meeting up daily, that's a lie. We're meeting up twice a week and trying to book production rooms to get recording. And Ryan's working on the arrangement side.
So will it just be one song that you perform?
Well, it would be one song they're performing together, and then I'm also working with a track with Elizabeth, and I'm also another track with.
So we're both doing individual songs and then we're doing one collaborative.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll all be part of the performance?
Pardon?
Are they all going to be part of the final performance? Is that the plan?
Because
Okay.
she's harmonising on mine, I'm harmonising on hers.
Okay,
it's all
so-
gonna come together.
So one of them you're sort of taking lead on each, and
Yeah.
one is really as a sort of duet
Yeah.
that you're doing together. Okay, cool. Okay, so with Eddie asked what you're doing to ensure it's successful. To be specific, like in terms of timescale, have you set yourself deadlines for getting songs finished? Have you got, because you need to be able to rehearse them as well.
We haven't got a proper time scale yet. We kind of just came together 2 weeks ago. So we're still
Okay, so you
figuring
realise
that
your
out.
project made sense to link them up.
Yeah, because we first was doing it individually and then we spoke to Ollie and we realised that it would be better if we done it as a collaborative piece. So we haven't sorted out deadlines yet.
Okay.
I have a question for Ryan. As a producer, sorry,
Have you looked at the
no. Okay, what are your main genre that you do?
The main genres that I mostly focus on is hip hop and R&B. That's my main base. I've also focused on some other genres as well. Like I focused a little bit on dance when I first started working on Logic. That didn't end up too well. Yeah, that's basically it.
Would you kind of experiment with different genre you never worked with?
Sorry.
Would you experiment with a genre that you never did before, or you just stay with your name and be like, yeah, so.
Oh no, I like to explore some things, but if it doesn't end up working out, then I'll probably just put it to a pause and then come back to it another time, and then just focus on something else.
What did you focus on other songs when you were making the instrumental?
There was one song that I also focused on as well, which was made by the same producer for Kiki Palmer's song. It's called The Most by Richard McQuan. It's kind of, this one was a bit fast paced, but it's also kind of like an R&B bass, but he's also like singing on the track. I've also focused on the way he kind of sings on the track, and also the way the track is based on. I mean, like the way it's put together. I can say, yeah, like the chorus, the verses, like how long it is. Yeah, basically.
How are you documenting that analysis of the songs?
I have it. I was supposed to put it on my blog, but I haven't got round to that yet. By putting it on the blog and then just noting down what's on this or what have I picked up from the song. But yeah, it was supposed to be.
Even further than just blogging it, I mean, have you got like, when you're listening to the tracks, are you writing sort of section by section analysis? Are you writing how long each section is? Are you writing notes about the instrumentation? Because what I mean is, you need to be. It'd be for somebody with my ears or Luke or Ollie's, we'll probably be able to hear one song and hear yours and be able to hear how you took influence. But think about it in terms of if you're presenting it to the examiner, you need to actually say, I listened to this song and I learned that the verses last for, I don't know, 8 or 16 bars, and then when it comes into the chorus, these instruments are added and stuff. Make sure you need to, your song analysis needs to be quite formal and documented. Basically, to say that, because I guess it applies to all of you guys, so really, if you say, I listened to this song and then I made my song sound like it, that doesn't really tell anyone anything. You're relying on the listener to sort of listen to both and join the dots, and the examiner may not even be a musician and wants you to spell out how the dots are joined. So your research of the songs, say, this is the song I listened to, here's what I learned. Depending what your focus is, if it's structure and instrumentation, you can say, this is what I learned about the song I've listened, and this is how long the verses are, this is how the structure is. There's a 2-bar break before it goes into the chorus, or they've used these instruments, whatever it is. Make sure you're really meticulous about that, documenting it, because you'll be able to hear it anyway. You'll hear it in your work, but you need to get the middle point in all of your research, really. If you're listening to something and you're writing something, you need to be quite clear what you learnt from that writing, as well as just expecting us to hear the product. Because it's not just going to be music people that are listening to your work. So you need to really spell out what you learnt from it, rather than expecting us to infer it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Tammy, are you still going to do the reggae method? Do you think you'll have enough time?
I have no idea yet. That was my original plan to do, but I don't think I've measured my time wisely, so I haven't got to start on that. But I do have an idea of what I want to do, but I haven't got around to doing it.
I don't think you should worry too much about it, because if you look at it this way, by the way your projects are sort of interlinked and combined, there are actually 3 pieces being created by a collaborative group. You've basically become, an R&B group that are working together. So even if you had more ideas that you wanted to add but you don't get to them, it's probably better to finish the songs you're working on really well, rather than it's better to have really hone in one particular song than having 2 that aren't quite finished, because then you're going to be able to document everything you did in this song, rather than, you don't want to get to the evaluation and say, I wanted to do this and I wanted to do that, and my second song didn't have a chorus in the end. Rather, it'd be better to have one that's really honed and finished perfectly. If you can incorporate the second song, do it, but don't worry too much about it. It's not about the quantity of your project, it's the quality of it. So it's better to have something that's really honed. Who's got more questions? Or any feedback? We haven't really given any suggestions, we've just asked loads of questions. Any ideas? Things we can add? Right, 2 things for me. You need to have deadlines for when you're going to finish each step of the process, whether it's, have you got all the lyrics written for the songs?
Yeah. Well, for the 2 songs, not all collaborative songs, I've got all the lyrics, yeah.
Okay, so you've got the lyrics for 2, you got both for your solo songs, the lyrics are written, but you need to write lyrics for collaborative songs.
Well, it's halfway finished.
Okay, so what you need is a deadline for when you're going to try and get that finished by. Then have you recorded the vocals, the whole songs? So has Ryan got an acapella to work with? Or are you planning he's going to write it and then re-record?
I've got bits and pieces recorded, but I don't know if you have them.
Okay, so what I guess really just have deadlines for when all this stuff is done. Like, you need to set yourself a deadline, Ryan, of in 1 week or really 2 weeks maximum, you're going to have the instrumentals to a full length structure, and then you guys need to work out, because what I'm getting at is you need to time to rehearse them. You can't work up till the deadline on the music and then perform it in a concert, because Ollie won't put it in a set if it hasn't been rehearsed enough. As much as anything else, he'll just say this song isn't ready, you haven't rehearsed it. So you need to be strict and set yourself deadlines. I think what you're working on is excellent. The collaborative aspects are great. You've got to be really strict with timing now. We're in like the business end of the year, and you've got to say in 2 weeks' time we're going to have all the music ready so we can focus on performing it. And if it's all ready, Ryan, you may find yourself going back into the instrumental track and say, like, you know what's going to really improve it is this. But the girls can then be rehearsing to your backing track full length, and you may make changes. You may be, probably because your project's going to involve mixing it as well. So you may find that the one that gets played on the final performance, your backing track, is a better mix, and you've added a few touches instrumental of instruments or music to it, but the girls need to have the full length versions to rehearse to.
Yeah.
ASAP. So with that in mind, set yourself some deadlines, like not stress deadlines like if you don't do it we're going to stop talking to you and it's going to fall apart, but more on the case if you can say by the end of next week one's going to be ready, and then you can rehearse it, and by the end of next week the second one will be ready. And then the other thing I think you need to do is book the access time as early as you can. Like look at access time in 2, 3, 4 weeks time and book ahead. Be that annoying person who's booked it in 4 weeks time, rather than being that frustrated person who can't get in the room to record. So yeah, just because I think your idea is great and the way you've linked it together is really good. You just need to really, because you've come together at quite a late point, you need to really make the most of your time now. Give yourself deadlines, book all the rooms, book rehearsal rooms, and then you'll be ready to perform. Anything else, guys?